Hi, I'm Daryl Hensley. Welcome to the Virtual Road Show. Today is September 23rd, 2021. Our topic today is specifying safe seating in an industrial environment. Let me welcome our panel here. We've got Ed Metzger, who's the current president of BioFit. Ed's been with the company 42 years and is retiring in December. We've got Jim Connell, who is the new president of BioFit, beginning as soon as Ed leaves out the door. Jim has been the CFO of BioFit for 6 years. Welcome, panel.
Thanks, Daryl.
Well, let's get started with our first question. Why does BioFit use a standard unoccupied braking caster versus a carpet caster?
Sure, that's a good question, Daryl. Well, one of the things we have to be careful of is casters that can roll too freely can become dangerous. So, if you're standing up and your chair rolls away, often you have to turn around and look, find it, and bring it back to your workstation. And then if you do this a couple of times, if you by any chance happen to forget, you go to sit down, and then you could fall and not even realize it. And that could result in an employee injury, which could result in lost productivity and obviously lost profits as well. So we offer a resistant caster as standard. We also offer manually locking casters, casters that lock when the user is actually sitting in the chair, as well as wider casters if you've got a graded surface that they're on. Those are just some other options that are available. And of course, glides if you don't want casters on the chair as well.
Yeah, and Daryl, one of the things about industrial and technology applications is nearly all of them are on a hard surface floor. Mm-hmm. Whether that's a concrete floor or it's a linoleum of some kind, ESD flooring, those sorts of things. So it's very important that the caster not roll too freely, because like a standard carpet caster will squirt away from you really quickly on a hard surface floor. So it's best that you have a hard surface caster, which has a little softer tread on it, and a braking or a resistance feature like BioFit chair has.
Well, I think that's a great standard feature to have.
Okay.
And you're starting with probably the most simplest part of the chair, the caster itself. Our next question is, why does BioFit offer a variety of steel, aluminum, and resin bases for seating?
Sure. Well, all of our bases all meet the ANSI-BIFMA standard. So, and that's extremely important because, if a base would fail, you're looking at it again, the chair falling over, an employee injury could be bad for the company overall. So all of our bases do meet the ANSI-BIFMA standard. So let me go over here and talk a little bit about the different bases that we offer. So this is a good example of our resin base. And so you can see here, it's pretty basic, pretty simple, but it does not conduct electricity. So it would not be a base for an ESD environment. That's not one that would work for you. The other two bases, though, that we offer, the aluminum and the steel base, those do conduct electricity. So those would work in an ESD environment. So our steel base that you can see here, this is all actually manufactured and welded here in our Bowling Green, Ohio plant. This is a very, very long-lasting, durable base. And that's what makes it very well enjoyed by universities, labs, as well as in the industrial market. Very long lasting, durable. It is cleanable as well, because you can see here it's got the round tubing, so it is cleanable. But if you're looking for something that's highly cleanable, such as in a clean room environment or any type of environment or areas that has to be cleaned regularly, they prefer our aluminum base. So as you can see here from the aluminum base, you can easily wipe it down, and it's a T base. So that there's no edges that are really hard to clean. You can get to all those edges very easily. So those are kind of the differences between the bases that we offer.
Yeah, Daryl, one of the things that Jim alluded to was the cleanability of our bases. Mm-hmm. And all of our bases, the plastic base has a T shape to it, as the aluminum, and of course the tubular base is round and easy to clean. But in the research that we did working on some of our seating projects, we found that even in industrial applications, not a clean room area, just a typical general industrial application, the users were telling us that their quality actually improves the cleaner their work areas are. And so having easily cleaned furniture can contribute to better quality of products that they're making in those areas.
So not only do we provide safety measures with our base being cleanable and disinfectable, but it also helps improve how fast they could clean the room and improve the productivity in that environment.
Yes.
That's another benefit that BioFit offers. Jim, I wanted you to speak to the 28-inch diameter base that we offer. There's very few people that offer a base that's large, and it's well received working at bench heights and counter heights. Tell us a little bit more about that 28-inch base and why we use it.
Sure. So let me actually show you the chair here. It's a good example. So as you can see from the chair, as the chair goes up from a desk height up to a bench height, as the chair rises, so does that center of gravity. That center of gravity will actually come up higher. And that becomes very important because in a lot of industrial applications, you're not just sitting down at the chair evenly positioned over the pneumatic. You're actually going to be sometimes leaning back and reaching around. And as you can see, when you're leaning and reaching, your center of gravity goes further away from being directly over that piston. As a result, it becomes more likely or more of a chance to fall over if you don't have a good wide solid base underneath you to support you.
Yeah, and that's a great point. And of course, this is a good chair to demonstrate why we use that 28-inch base aside from that standpoint. And that was as we were developing a movement chair, we found that what customers were looking for were the same kind of adjustments that were available in high-end contract furniture that used like in office environments. And so the movement chair itself has features that most industrial chairs don't, but up at that higher level, up as high as 33 inches. And that is functions of a seat slide that can go forward and back 2.5 inches. It has a forward seat tilt that allows you to lean forward into your work and also be able to lean back while you're in that position. All those things add more stresses and more possibility for tippiness. But yet what we wanted to do is to be able to offer those higher end ergonomic adjustments for industrial and technical workers that they've never had until now. And so that was a good reason for developing the larger spread base.
Well, shifting from the base as we work our way up the chair, our next piece of equipment on the chair is our cylinder. BioFit uses a class 4 cylinder with a weight capacity of 300 pounds. The BIFMA standard is 275 pounds. And there are a lot of suppliers of seating out there that are building to 250 pounds or less. Why do we build to a class 4 cylinder?
So we look at the BIFMA standard as the bare minimum. We want to at least meet the BIFMA standard when we're creating our chair. We believe in producing and providing very high quality chairs. So we're not looking at just meeting the standard, but we want to make sure that we're at least meeting it, if not exceeding it in all cases. So the chair is 300-pound rated, as you pointed out. And one of the things that I know, at least for me as an individual, sometimes, I put on a few extra pounds during the holidays, and, we got to be careful, if an employee maybe is close to that 260, 270 pounds, we wouldn't want them to, during the holidays, all of a sudden have the piston or the pneumatic fail on them just because they put on a few pounds during the holidays. So that's why we go up above and beyond, and we go up to that 300-pound level just to make sure that that's not going to be an issue as well.
And we do know in the North American market that people's sizes are increasing, when we look at the demographics of what's going on. But one of the other things about the class 4 cylinder is that the piston itself is actually heat treated. That's what gives it its additional strength, and that changes the color slightly of that tube. I don't know whether we can get a shot of that or not, but the actual piston itself is darker in color because of that heat treating process. On a lower class cylinder, that will be more of a regular steel color. But what that does is you have the forces on this chair. And as Jim demonstrated before, when he leaned back, you know, you have a lot of this stress going back and forth. And that's what hardening that piston does. It helps strengthen it from those tensions and those forces going side to side and forward and back as somebody's working in harmony with like an assembly line or the kinds of processes they do in industrial assembly type operations, where they're always bending back and forth, reaching and dropping off parts and doing those kinds of things. So it's really a big improvement that's been made with that Class 4 cylinder.
Well, you know, Ed, I noticed earlier when you got in the chair, you got it real gently.
Yeah.
A lot of people, when they get up at that height, they're going to drop down in that
Yeah.
seat. So that
Mhm.
extra weight helps that the staying power of that cylinder. We also made dropping into it and then dropping down
Yes.
because they put on that extra weight that Jim had mentioned. Thanks, gentlemen, for the answer on that question. As we move along, we're going to move up to the seat pan and the seat back. And BioFit uses materials such as urethane, polypropylene, PVC vinyl, steel seats. A lot of companies are using fabrics and faux leathers. Why does BioFit have that assortment of seating materials that they're using versus some of the people that are selling lab chairs or industrial chairs with faux leathers and fabrics on them?
So again, just as you pointed out, you know, the type of environment that the chair is going to be used in really needs to determine what type of material you're going to use on the seat. So in an office environment, for example, having a upholstered or a vinyl, I should say an upholstered or a cloth material or a faux leather, it would be a fine for that type of an environment. But when you get out into the industrial environment or the technical environment, you need a much more rigorous type of a upholstery on there. So you actually use like a vinyl or a polypropylene or polyurethane, and that also allows it to be very cleanable. Cleanability and disinfectability are become very important out in those type of environments. You know, not only do you have multiple shifts where you're going to need to be wiping it down during those shifts, but you also could be having it, especially right now with COVID, you're going to be wiping it down multiple times during that shift. And that's not even mentioning that if there's some type of a spill, or whether that's chemical spill or just the industrial oils and lubricants that's in that type of environment that have to be cleaned up as well.
Yeah, that's true. You know, we find a lot of the work that we're doing now, you know, we get calls from customers about, you know, can your chair withstand this cleaner or that cleaner or this type of chemical and those sorts of things. And Daryl, you know, as being part of the BIFMA committee on cleanability and disinfectability, there's a lot of discussion about the chemicals and how they are compatible with different types of upholstery materials. And we're also members of the SEFA, the Scientific Equipment Furniture Association, where we're also writing a standard on laboratory grade seating. And one of the big concentrations there is on how do the seating surfaces react to the various chemicals that are found in commercial laboratories. So a lot of the things that we're doing on the leading edge of what materials can be used with what cleaners or what chemicals and those sorts of things, a lot of times we'll find in industrial and technical environments, upholsteries can't be used because the cleaners or the chemicals are so aggressive that they can present a lot of damage. So you may have to use polypropylene, like a solid type of plastic, as opposed to an upholstery. But it is very important in industrial and technical areas that we know and understand what their needs are. And we've been in this business for 75 years, and we know through experience what we can expect to see and be used in various things, whether that's clean room, whether it's ESD, static control areas, or just general industrial environments, everything from assembly to hard manufacturing, you know, stampings and those kinds of things that go on. So yeah, we've been in business for a while and we kind of know what we're doing.
Yeah, I can completely see that because I keep hearing the word technical and industrial quite a bit, which leads me to the next part of that. It's kind of a two-part question. BioFit uses a nice fitted outer back on all their chairs. Jim, why does BioFit offer that feature on their chairs?
Sure. So a lot of times in the office environment, you're going to see the front of the chair as well as the back of the chair both being upholstered with some type of a cloth material, both the front and the back. Well, that is pretty and that is nice. However, that isn't going to stand up in an industrial environment. Oftentimes, when you're in the industrial environment, you're going to be working around very hard surfaces, such as a metal workstation, a metal workbench, a metal shelving units, so on and so forth. So a lot of times when you're getting up from your workstation and you go to walk away, you're going to hit the back of your chair is going to hit that hard workstation. And so what happens over time, if you're using that cloth, the backing, that repetitive hitting, that contact, that force coming back and forth over and over again will create a rip in the back of that if it was an upholstered back.
Yep.
And so that's one of the things that we do with providing with the plastic back is that won't happen. So who cares if the back of the chair has a rip in it? Well, depending on what the environment is, for example, if it's an industrial environment, you might have oils and lubricants that now can get absorbed into the back of that chair. If you're looking at a clean room environment, now all of a sudden that's even a bigger issue because now you could potentially have contaminants from inside the back that are going to leach out into that environment. So that's one of the important features of that's why we offer the plastic back as standard on all of our technical chairs.
Yeah, and I think one of the best features, there are a couple of really key things on our plastic panels. Not only are they durable and formed correctly, they actually come out and wrap around the edge of the backrest. Because when a user gets up and swivels, that side of the back is the first thing to hit a workbench or a work surface that may be sitting in the way. So having that edge wrap all the way around is important. The other thing is that all of our plastic panels are injection molded, and that's really critical because the thickness of the plastic is the same in any of these locations here where they bend around the edge of the seat as they are throughout the panel. A lot of low-cost competitors use a vacuum formed plastic panel, and what that does is they take a flat sheet of plastic and they heat it and they put it in a press, and then it stretches it into that shape. And when it stretches around this corner, it actually thins the plastic out. Well, that's the area that keeps getting hit up against workbenches and other hard surfaces in the area. And it's the first area to break. One other feature that we'd like to show is that because in technical environments, sometimes there's lubricants, different kinds of liquids and that sort of thing, you need to make sure that the backrest, the upholstered panel, is slightly overstuffed so there are no gaps between the plastic panel and the upholstered panel. That keeps, like in a laboratory environment, in healthcare, it keeps organic materials from getting in there, or in the industrial applications that Jim was talking about, any kind of lubricants or other sorts of chemicals that are being used in industrial type environments. It really helps keep the product clean and new, looking new, and working
while you're
well.
up there, Ed,
Yeah.
I noticed that back is a lot smoother than a lot of the other backs that I see out in the industry on the plastic side, the reverse side.
Oh yeah.
We call that what, a wax stipple finish?
Yeah, a no wax stipple, which is actually created for the automotive market, and what that does is in clean room environments, it means when your wipe comes down to clean this part off, it can get down into the grain and clean, where if it was just a regular grain that didn't have that special acid wash that's done in the stipple, the no wax stipple, then you would miss cleaning off some particles that are caught inside that graining texture. But that's why we keep that's such a smooth finish on the back, and makes it cleaner, easier to clean.
Would that also help disinfecting in the age
Oh,
of COVID?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
You're not gonna have bacteria, viruses, and things like that getting caught and not being able to clean in those areas as well.
So far, everything that we've seen has really helped productivity, prevented possible disease or injury. It seems like everything that we do brings more value to the chair as we cover more and more topics on this particular product, which brings me to my next question. there's so many people in our industry that kind of treat a chair as an old cheap hammer that they can pick up at a store. Why can't we just use budget office chairs from a big box store in my technical environment? That's the question we get a lot. Why can't they just get away with that? And you've covered a lot, but we might as well put a nail in that coffin. Go ahead.
Right. Well, again, you get what you pay for. So yes, you can go to a big box store and buy a budget chair, but that's what you're going to get. Often when you look at the warranty for those, what type of warranty do you normally see, Daryl, when you look at some of those chairs?
Normally less than a year.
Yeah. And so that's probably going to work in a office environment, but if you take it into an industrial environment, that may become null and void.
Yeah.
But so that means that the manufacturer probably is expecting that chair to last for 1 year. We offer a 13-year, 365-day warranty with 3 shifts. 365, 3 shifts, 13-year warranty. So, our chair is made to last the long haul, not just a 1-year type of chair. So you get what you pay for in the short answer. Also, what I want to point out is that when you're in an office, the way the office chairs are made is that they're made that you're going to be sitting down here and you're probably going to be typing on a keyboard, maybe using a mouse over here or calling on the phone. Office chairs are intended for more light use activity, as opposed to in the industrial office or in the industrial market. Often you're having to move a lot more in your chair. You're going to be picking up part A, putting a widget on it, and then putting it down over here as it becomes part B. You're going to be moving around a lot. Sometimes you might have to reach back a little bit in order to grab a tool, or reach back over here a little bit to grab part of another piece of inventory or another part, put it together. And sometimes you're hammering on the, using a hammer, or you're using some precise work. So it's a lot more heavy duty use in the industrial market as opposed to in the office environment.
Yeah, no question. Jim hit the nail right on the head. Talking about your hammer joke there. But the fact is there are a lot more blunt forces used in manufacturing areas, and the forces that the chair is subjected to. Yeah, you can buy a budget office chair and you can use it, but the fact is it's not going to last you, and it's not going to be up to the task that's required. It'd be like, buying a cheap tool to put your stuff together in a factory, as opposed to buying a really good quality tool that's going to work for you years and years.
So I buy a BioFit chair and I'm using it for 10 years, and all of a sudden my caster breaks. Do I get like $1.50 credit toward the purchase of a new credit? How's the warranty work? I mean, is it robust?
Yes, it is. You don't get credit. You actually get a new caster to put in. So yeah, and we try to make the process easy as well. For you to be able to do that, you can actually do that from an app on your phone if you scan the QR code. But
we'll show that a little later.
Yeah, we'll show that later. But that's the way we've always worked. It's a 13-year warranty, regardless of shifts per day. And, we've alluded to the fact that our chairs are rated, tested up to 300-pound capacity. Actually, the movement products rated up to 350 pounds. So, we're not going to say, well, your person weighed over 200 pounds, we're not going to cover it. That's not the way we operate, so.
75 years of integrity.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Now we're going to get into the topic that I know you're very passionate about, Ed. 42 years of ergonomic training and everything. How important is ergonomics in an industrial environment, Jim?
Well, it's no less important than any other environment. Ergonomics are important. The longer you spend on the chair, the more important they become. If you're sitting in a chair for 5 minutes a day, as you just have to clock in and out, probably not quite as important. But if you're going to spend 4, 6, 8 hours sitting down in a chair, then you want a chair that can adjust to you. You want the chair to be able to mimic or accommodate you in the different type of movements you need to do throughout the day. So one of the key features is on our movement chairs. We have over 13 different points of adjustment that can make it for ergonomics to help it fit you like a glove.
Yeah, and the real key factor here is, a lot of people don't believe that they think that ergonomics is you get a human factors manual standard that you look at that, okay, that ergonomics applies to everybody. A lot of those standards apply to seated office work, looking at a video terminal.
Yeah.
What we have up on our screen right now is showing the difference in the postures that you have in industrial and technology workplaces versus what you see in an office. In an office, you see somebody sitting upright, and we saw some slides before where people were sitting mostly at a 90-degree angle, their thigh to their torso. But here you look and you see in the various pictures, people are leaning forward. Their heads are in a forward position. Whereas in an office chair, your head is balanced up on your shoulders and your neck. So you don't have any tension in your neck and shoulders necessarily, where here they're carrying the weight of their head, 10 to 12 pounds on average. And the muscles are having to hold that, as well as the lower back. So, you see some of these pictures here and look at those postures and imagine holding those all day long. They really create stresses on the neck, the shoulders, the arms, the lower back. And even when you're leaning forward, it places the weight of your torso over your thighs, which can cut off circulation to your lower legs. So that's critical as well.
Well, our next question really gets into the differences between office ergonomics and industrial ergonomics. I think you've got some slides, Ed, and you also, Jim, you've got some slides to kind of speak to that so people can actually see it from an internal body perspective.
Yeah, there is really, in the 60s, we developed chairs that were called biomechanical chairs. And really, when you start studying this stuff, that's what you're talking about, is what are the mechanics of the body, the biomechanics that play into this. And so what I wanted to do is talk a little bit about spinal mechanics while you're sitting. So when you're standing, everywhere from standing to in this, what we call like a fetal position, which is in the next illustration, you can see that you have this normal curvature in the spine, which is called lordosis. And this is when the spine is in its most relaxed position in these postures, from 180 degrees, which is standing, to 120 degrees. In fact, the thing about this posture is that it helps the muscles of your back and your spine to distribute the stresses evenly, so that all your muscles are carrying the load and so forth. So as we go into the next slide, you'll see that this is the posture. What happens is, as you start to bend to go into a sitting position, and oh yeah, the one thing I want to say, I'm sorry, I forgot about this, is even in these positions, if you're in a static or a non-moving posture, it can cause problems as well. And we see both of these things starting to impact as we go into seated working. In fact, what happens here in the next thing we say is those little reminders of you, and how many times you've stood at a bar or at some place and you stand in a static position for a long time, and how good it feels to put your foot up on a rail. Okay, because you just changed that posture a little bit and allowed those muscles in your back to move a little bit. Or commonly, people sleeping, they'll know if you sleep in one position for a long time, how good it feels to roll over and sleep, in a different position. But what happens during sitting is, okay, we've got this totally relaxed spine. The hip rotates from 180 to 120 degrees with no impact on the spine whatsoever. But at that 120 degrees, the spine has rotated as far as it can go. And so what happens for the rest of the 30 degrees you need, that actually comes out of the spine. The spine actually flattens out as you sit down. And people who are watching this can actually stand and place your hand in the lower part of your back. And as you sit down, you'll feel your back start to flatten out. And that's why it's doing that, because the hip can only rotate just that much. The rest has to come from the spine. So what happens is, in that absence of what we call lordosis or lumbar lordosis, the spine is no longer in an optimal position. Now what's happening is some of the other muscles are giving up, and other muscles are having to bear all the load, and that's really concentrating the effort in a particular area of the spine. Okay, so now you see lordosis on the left-hand side here and the curve that it has. So there's where we have the optimal spacing. When you sit down, you go into what we call straight back. posture. And if you look at the two illustrations, you'll see in lordosis, there's plenty of spacing between the vertebra discs. As you go into straight back, get closer together. And what happens is they start to pinch on the cartilage discs between the back. And that creates back pressure as well. Then on top of that, what we do is we add that static posture, people having to sit for a long time, looking at a workstation, doing inspection, real fine inspection work or whatever. They're just stuck in that position. So what happens is then the sitting muscles that are already tense because you're in this straight back or worse, which is called kyphosis, bending forward. We'll see that in a minute. You're putting all that stress on the lower back structures in the muscle. And then what happens is, in industrial, particularly applications, you lean forward even more. And I should say laboratory, because you look into a microscope, that's really leaning forward a lot of times. And that even worsens it. And then on top of that, you have that static posture that we were talking about. And here are some of those things. You see an assembly a workstation, guys leaning forward, shooting screws into the part he's assembling. Microscopes, there's one in a clean room of a person leaning over doing work. In apparel sewing applications, really bad postures, that they hold static all day long, sewing, and pipetting and microscope use again. So, there's an abundance of those forward-leading postures in these work areas. So in the next illustration, we have the kyphosis that we talked about. That's that leaning forward. So here's straight back sitting down. And then the next one shows kyphosis. Okay, so the curve is actually supposed to be going the opposite way, but in kyphosis, it's bending, completely opposite of the way it should be. And now you're really putting stress on those cartilage discs and all the muscles and the spinal structure in the backrest. And it really can cause a lot of problems. It compresses the cartilage discs. It creates a lot of stress on the lower back, and particularly in the muscles. And if you're in a static position, that really just exacerbates it, makes it even worse.
Well, to our audience out there, I just want to say, if you're trying to take notes, stop. We can send you the presentation as we went through that. I know there was a lot to take in there. So we'll give you a break, and we'll let Jim take the next question here for a second. Jim, our next question is, how important is cleaning and disinfecting in an industrial environment? We've got multi-shift warranty. We've got people working all day long. They're sharing units with each other on different shifts. How important is this cleaning and disinfecting?
Well, cleaning and disinfectability has been a key topic and has been very important to BioFit for many, many years. This isn't something new that we just started getting into in the last 2 years or so. But it has become mainstream and even more important to many different companies ever since 2020. And so it's always been important to us. So not only are we cleaning at the beginning of each shift and at the end of each shift, but we're also cleaning our chairs and equipment anytime an employee leaves their workstation, anytime, and also multiple times during the day. So before lunch, before, we have it multiple times throughout the day are pre-scheduled, that it's okay, everybody stop and clean your workstation, because, if you had COVID or something like that go through your facilities, then it's going to be detrimental to your company. We're going to have talking about lost profitability, lost productivity, and so it's a big deal. So it's very important that all of the chairs are highly cleanable, highly disinfectable, as well as adjustable. We're all about ergonomics, right?
Yeah.
So that's very important as well. But it's worth noting that all of our chairs can be cleaned with approved US EPA cleaners.
Well,
Again.
and have you caught up yet? I want to ask you this next question.
Absolutely.
Obviously, we use a selected group of vinyls. We warranty for 13 years. These US EPA cleaners could be pretty harsh. How does our warranty hold up to a lot of the? Have we seen this increase in warranty claims on our vinyls from cracking, like some of the other people in the industry have been seeing?
Daryl, no, we haven't seen an increase. And the fact is, we've been exposed to this whole chemical compatibility issue for years, because our customers particularly in places like medical devices, pharmaceutical, a lot of biotechnology firms and things like that have been using these harsh cleaners for a long time because it's important for them to clean microbes off their chairs in their production facilities. Where now we're all becoming used to that, because we're trying to get rid of COVID and, all of the pathogens and things that we're exposed to. So we've not seen an increase. And the other side of that is, having been exposed to all these things, we developed the chairs and the upholstery materials, the plastic parts and all those things to be compatible with those things. So again, it's a matter of our experience paying off, in the market.
Well, what you're saying is it's not our first rodeo.
It's not.
I mean, it's good that we've been the leaders in that for many, many years. And you mentioned it, Ed, and we consult with a lot of professionals and specifying and designing safe industrial seating. Who are some of the people we work with as far as organizations, and who are some of the people we work with that were pioneers in the industry?
Well, we've worked over the years with a number of leading ergonomic consultants and experts in the field, particularly at the University of Michigan in our backyard when we first started doing this. Dr. Chavin and Anderson at the University of Michigan. We worked with Ohio State University for a short while on some sit-stand projects that was going on. But we've also worked with Ford Motor Company, Dr. Brad Joseph. We've worked with Art Hill at Levi Strauss. And even as recently as a couple of years ago, we've worked with ergonomics people in Asia for an apparel manufacturer to develop an ergonomic chair, which we're actually producing right now. Some of their orders for them. So we often consult with experts in the field, whether they're users or whether it's universities and people that really study those kinds of things.
I think it's important to note, you just mentioned that we're doing some products. We're a global company, right?
Oh yeah, yes.
I mean, what other countries do we ship to around the world?
Oh Lord, we ship to Asia, India, Middle East, Oman, Israel, Europe, South America, Central America.
Do we ship to Canada?
Yeah, we do ship to Canada
stop.
and Mexico as well.
Okay, good. So I mean, that concludes the presentation. But we're looking for some questions. I've got some questions that came in. But do you have some questions that are out there? Well, let me give you, go ahead.
There, I wanted to point out real quick, and it's a couple of key ergonomic features on the chair that need to make sure people are considering and looking for when they're looking at chairs. So one of the first ones here that I want to point out is that seat tilt. So hopefully, if you can see it here, the seat tilt going back and forth here in the front. And that's to help with the blood flow in the back of your leg. So when you're sitting down, if you're sometimes this can cut off the leg here, can cut off right here. And so by having that seat tilt that allows it to go up and down, it'll actually allow the blood to flow towards the lower part of your leg from there. So that's one thing to look for is the seat tilt. Another thing to make sure you're looking for, and that's going to be the lumbar support. So oftentimes in an industrial environment, the employee is going to be leaning forward, whether that's looking through a microscope, doing real precise work, on their workstation or on their workbench in front of them. And if you look here, there's no support here on my lumbar. So one of the features to consider is, does the seat actually rotate up forward to provide you with lumbar support when you're looking forward into a microscope? That's another key feature. The last feature that I want to show here is going to be with this raised back. I'm trying to find the right angle here so you can see it. But this actually has a raised back to it. So that way, when you sit down on the chair, it'll actually help to rotate your hips forward. So that way it'll help you with that lumbar lordosis. So that way it actually helps to put that curve back into your spine. So those are a couple of key features to look at when you're looking at a chair.
Well, Jim, to follow up on that, occasionally what will happen is a company will hire, 10 to 20 new people and they need chairs in a hurry. Does BioFit offer any type of quick ship program?
We do. We actually have a next day ship as well as 2-day ship on several of our different products that are often, what is it, the 80-20 rule, you get a lot of business from those that, so those are the ones that we've identified and put into our quick ship program.
Now, our normal lead times, gentlemen, are?
Typically, it's 3 weeks is our standard lead time on our seating products. Sometimes when we get really busy in the summer months, sometimes we have to extend it to 4 weeks. And on the flip side, often during the winter months, we can shrink that down to about 2 weeks, but we have a standard 3-week lead time.
Now, one of the things we promised was how the QR code works. And so the question that I got from a company was, how do I begin a warranty claim, or how do I even order new chairs? Ed, you want to demo that, the QR code on that chair there?
That slick little QR code, yes. And the other issue on the QR code app is we talk about in ergonomics is an ergonomic chair isn't worth much unless you know how to use it. So you can scan the QR code and you can find out how to operate the chair. But what I've got here is the QR code is on the underside of every chair. But we need to raise that up, I think.
Raise it up to him here. Raise it up there.
There we go.
There you go.
Okay. And then if you have a QR code reader, or if you a lot of times you can just use your camera, you just scan that thing. If we can get it to focus, there we go. And what happens is the app actually comes up, and this app is specific to this chair. So if this chair did not have arms, you wouldn't have the arms showing up on the illustration. They wouldn't appear in the model number. It's exactly to that chair. So whatever chair you order, you get this app come up, including all the videos on how to adjust it. But as Daryl's question was about how do you submit a warranty information or warranty claim, the first thing you can see is on the QR code app, it tells you how many years, months, and days are left on your warranty. So you'll know immediately whether the chair is still covered. Then if you have a warranty claim, you can just click on submit a warranty. An illustration comes up of a chair explaining what we call the various parts, so we don't get somebody asking for the thingy, which we get sometimes. Okay, and let's say, I think we used caster as an illustration before. So you can come down here to casters and glides. You can click on that and submit it. And what happens is you put your name and information in, you click submit, and that comes straight into BioFit in real time. Okay, you don't have to call your dealer. You don't have to call purchasing. You don't have to call your facilities people or whatever. It comes straight into us, and we know exactly from that QR code what order that was from, what the exact model number was, even what batch of casters that came from, in case we had a supplier that had a quality issue that we know is an issue or that sort of thing. So it's very easy for someone to submit a warranty issue if they have one of our chairs.
Yeah, I just noticed that our chat box lit up with all kinds of comments about how cool that the QR code was. So that's a great
app
feature.
is really something special, and something that Ed mentioned briefly there was the one thing that I really like about it is it shows you how to use the different ergonomic features of that chair.
Yeah.
And it's not like it's one video that goes through every possible option. It's been broken up into very short little video clips on each of the specific points of interest. So you don't have to listen through 5 minutes of video just to find the piece that you're looking for. You can just scroll, okay, where's the seat slide? Oh, there it is. How do I adjust the seat slide? So I think that makes it a lot more user-friendly for the end users to try to figure out how to use their chair.
Yeah. Well, that almost brings us to the conclusion of our roadshow today, but I do want to mention a couple things. If you go to biofit.com and you register there, you're going to have a lot of great content available to you, white papers, Revit files, drawing files. But one of the most important features at biofit.com is the chair builder, where you can literally build your chair to the specifications, see it, get a spec sheet. It's a great tool that's on there. I encourage you to go to biofit.com and register. I'd also encourage you to go to our BioFit's YouTube channel, where we've got a lot of great videos on how to operate our chairs and how they work in different environments. We could also follow us on LinkedIn, where we drop a lot of content on LinkedIn. Anything else before we close, gentlemen?
Let's not forget about the dealer portal on our website either.
Yeah, we've got a dealer portal that you can log in and get content, and eventually we'll upgrade that to where you'll be able to track your orders in the future. Not there yet, but we're headed that direction. Anything you want to add, Ed, before we close?
No, just thank everybody for attending
No.
today and listening about BioFit. We sure appreciate your interest in our products.
Well, I want to thank the gentlemen for their insight. I want to wish Ed lots of fun in retirement. Congratulate Jim on the next phase of his career. And I want to thank our audience for participating today. Best wishes to you all. Oh, we got a question? A compliment. Well, let's read it. Outstanding webinar. Very useful comparisons and technical specifications. QR code is great selling point. We're gonna, we hopefully we won't have to sign a disclaimer to be able to use that on the video. Thanks, guys. Thanks for watching.
Thanks, everyone.